swear how many Jedi can kill this thing. I mean, just look at the power of the dark side. Oh, sorry about that. How we doing today? Welcome back to Three Simple Men making their way through the galaxy. I'm Tom. With me is Ryan and hey, Mike.
Camera's not on, buddy.
Yeah, bud.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, we got new
wait.
background.
Hold
Yeah.
on now.
Just traveling through hyperspace and just watching everything from a far away.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, he has a
Galaxy
new
far
background.
away.
Yes. Once again, we're back for another week's episode, and we're back into the Clone Wars, Season 1, Episode 8, titled Bombad Jedi. Fellas, first of all, how are we? And then second of all, what do we think about the episode?
Doing good. I got a lot of thoughts about this episode. A lot of things I noticed.
Let's talk about it then.
First we'll read the introductory quote. Heroes are made by the times. But to center us, we are informed by a dialogue between, by the opening, kind of recap, and then a dialogue between Padme and Palpatine that she's heading to Rodan for on a diplomatic mission to go speak to her old friends, and specifically Senator Farr. And along for the ride is none other than Jar Jar Binks, who right off the bat trips and almost crashes the ship they're in.
And not to mention C-3PO.
Of course. So the first thing that I pretty quickly noticed, they're going to a swamp planet, but it's Cloud City. I mean, like, it's the exact storyline from Empire Strikes Back. I know I'm jumping ahead, but come on. At this point, people watching this have seen Empire Strikes Back. Padme showing up, thinking she's going to see a friend. Turns out the friend has betrayed her to, in this case, the Separatists as opposed to the Empire. But it's basically Han meeting up with
Lando,
thank you. Jeez.
you're right there, buddy.
Like the same thing. I was like, oh, this is really funny. It's just very, very similar kind of storyline,
I mean, and also like the biggest change was, Palpatine gave her the warning, you're heading into enemy territory, and obviously with the Empire Strikes Back, they didn't really know that the Empire got there first. I mean, yeah, but for the most part, I do agree with the way you outlined it.
And then the turn too, which I'm jumping ahead, but I want to establish.
But just going back to that little beginning, like you said, Mike, it's like when she was talking with Palpatine, you're going to enemy space. She had the self-awareness of, do not send military help. This is supposed to be diplomatic. The last thing we want to do is escalate the situation.
I mean, and then also where you hear of like, oh, people are starving, it kind of brings back like that episode 1 where Padme was in that situation, like they need help, and I'm not going to ignore a call for help. And
same thing with the Twi'leks in the previous episodes we watched in the Clone Wars.
Yep.
Yeah, we're constantly seeing how the Republic fails its people.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess we'll just keep going, Ryan, to the point you made earlier that, it just, unfortunately, the Separatists got there first and they cut a deal where they're able to provide the supplies and the assistance that, unfortunately, the Republic couldn't do. And none other than Newt Gunray. And of course, Newt Gunray has a personal vendetta against Padme for humiliating him on Naboo, then surviving the assassination attempt. So you could tell right off the bat that this is very personal, beyond like, Separatists coming in and helping them out. So
he's not trying to strike out at this point, folks. He's 0 for 2 right now, down in the count.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, the other comparison to the point where, she's taken away and locked up, and then C-3PO gets captured, and they send him off to the
Disintegration
the
Center.
dismantling center, which I was like
Dismantling,
also very much like from Empire, and luckily he gets saved beforehand, but that was one comparison. And then the other big one I noticed, which we'll jump back when C3PO and Jar Jar leave the ship after it's been kind of destroyed, and C3PO and Jar Jar falls overboard, or I guess before it's been destroyed, and he falls into the water after fighting the crab droid, which first appearance of a crab droid. So that was kind of cool. Don't really know what it does besides lose to Jar Jar, but Jar Jar takes out the crab droid, but then C3PO thinks that Jar Jar died and blames himself, which is also very reminiscent of C3PO in A New Hope with the trash compactor scene. So I noticed that too, where it just seems like they're really pulling things from the original trilogy to kind of put this episode together. I don't want to call it lazy writing, but it's kind of, I guess, creatively self-referencing Star
I kind
Wars.
of find that very interesting for a droid to be like that, in the sense like I blame myself. That's a sense of humanity, some compassion right there from a droid too, which is very contradictual, oxymoron, whatever you want to call it. It's just very unheard of for a droid to have a sense of it's my fault, some guilt, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also a little surprising too. I mean, Jar Jar. I mean, yeah, he's clumsy as one of the bunch, but hard to believe that 3PO would have that humanity for him. Like, oh no, what did I do? But of course, I think before that happened, Jar Jar's couldn't get him on the ship. The ramp closed, and then he flipped. He trips on the switch, and 3PO is magnetized up top. So it's like, yeah, I mean, after all that, yeah, it's very surprising to see that humanity come out. Like, oh, what did I do? And of course, he gets released, and then the magnet destroys the ship. So not surprising with all with all the stuff that Jar Jar was doing, and within the first few minutes of the episode.
Yeah, and just kind of, then we get into the moment where they find the robe after the and Jar Jar puts it on.
Wait, before you continue, we're talking about the robe now. Whose robe do you think it was? I have an answer. I have a guess. What do y'all think?
You think it's Qui-Gon's?
Nope. I think it's Anakin's.
You think it's Anakin's robe? Oh, that he left it. Yeah, because it's Padme's ship, right?
Yeah.
One night stand, baby.
Anakin, you sly dog.
It's more than a one night stand when you're married, Mike.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Just obviously with Anakin fighting the war and Padme diplomacy / flying around getting captured. Who knows? Maybe they just had a quickie. I don't know.
All right, but so we then get the mistaken identity, where they start to believe that Jar Jar is a Jedi. And then we have a scene where Jar Jar is climbing to the rescue of Padme up the tower and manages to, and of course Padme has already escaped, which we can go over that too, but this was just another thing that I kind of thought of when Jar Jar kind of surprises Newt Gunray and the droids, and they're like, shoot at him, and he like falls off the tower, but his ankle gets stuck, and which is the same thing earlier when he's moving the magnet and his ankle gets stuck. But all I could think of was the quote from a different movie. This is without a doubt the worst pirate I've ever seen, / this is without a doubt the best pirate I've ever seen, and this is without a doubt the worst Jedi I've ever seen. Kind of remind me of the Pirates of the Caribbean line where he's just like accidentally, being Jar Jar, which is how he fought in the invasion of Naboo, was basically accidentally failing up, I guess we could call it.
And then you talk about getting him tripped by the ankle. Remember from episode 1 during the battle where they distracted the Trade Federation, he had half a B1 battle droid on his ankle, and he's just somehow sniping them one by one
and taking out a droid when everyone else had trouble taking them out with the shield. It's like, Yeah, and the one time the Droideka doesn't have a shield against the Gungans, like, yeah.
Well, it makes me think. I guess. Uh. Uh. It makes me think about his clumsiness. Is it really a weakness, or is it slowly starting to become like an asset towards him? Like it's a somehow becoming a good thing where it just actually works in his favor.
Which is
And I
lucky.
guess going back to this whole thing reference to Jack Sparrow, like, does he make it up or plan it all out or whatever? So it's like, is he really that clumsy, or does he really know what he's doing? So
Why is the rum always gone? But yeah, it's very true.
We also get Jar Jar's encounter with the hungry caterpillar. Just a big underwater,
I haven't thought about that book in God knows how long.
just a big underwater caterpillar, which he befriends after it saves him from a first time we've seen this in use, a like homing, and it reminded me of the kind of the seeking rounds from Shadows of the Empire game, that N64 game, right? Where the droid and it like goes in the water and it was like following him. We haven't seen that at all yet in any of Star Wars.
I'm surprised droids would resort to thermal detonators too, because like you think it was just one, but then you just see a whole bunch of them, and then that one super with the wrist rocket. Yeah,
You think those are thermal detonators or something else?
I
They
don't
look
know.
kind of big.
Definitely not EMPs.
I thought they
Uh,
were just regular grenades.
Grenades, yeah. I don't think they'd have that many thermal detonators. I feel like thermal detonators are.
There would have been a lot damage towards that whole platform they were standing on, but
Yeah, I mean, it's also like blowing up underwater too. I mean, obviously that's gonna like mess people up under there. So
I mean, I guess going back, we're just going around with this
Yeah, just jumping
with
around.
the senator Farr,
Far.
yeah, or as Padme
Uncle
knows
Ono.
him as Uncle or Ono, Uncle Ono. Uh,
Yeah.
you slowly see, just like you saw with Lando, since you brought it up, the
Exactly.
levels of what have I done? Like, what my people came first, but at what cost? Because I am betraying someone who I know dearly. And then, as you slowly see it, when he signed with the Separatists, he was promised what he wanted was food. But realistically speaking, because like you said, Mike, this is a vendetta. This is personal for the Viceroy. He had no intention of actually caring about the people until he got what he wanted. So
yeah, it was like the
now we're
whole like
seeing the levels of distrust and the mistakes about joining the separatists.
yeah, because like he kept asking the question, "Where's my food?" It's like, "Well, where's the senator?" And it's just like, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm gonna put you in line with everyone else," and just like, I mean, yeah, to your point, it's like, I mean, yeah, he said at the beginning, Padme, I don't blame you, but I don't appreciate how the Republic's been ignoring me. But you don't, and what cost would you betray Padme and the Republic to side with the Separatists, knowing that like they don't really care about you? So yeah, unfortunately, as the episode goes on, he realizes that, oh crap, what have I done and what have I gotten myself into? So he clearly sees that as he's like, we're Senator Amidala, and then he changes the terms of like, I want to execute her now, and just like I guess going back to what you said, Ryan, because like all the times that like Lando is making deals with Vader, he keeps altering the deal. So like you see, it's definitely that. I mean, it pretty much shows that callback with the episode 5 storyline. So
Yeah.
To get into your territory of quote of the day, since we brought him up, this deal just keeps getting worse all the time.
Well, so I do have a quote actually that you just led right to when he finally realizes that exactly that, and he turns to his like right hand man, and he says like, this isn't going well. We need that Jedi. He is our only hope. So we do get another only hope reference. So I caught that too, and
we also got another I got a bad feeling about this from C3PO.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did write that down, actually. I tallied it. So let me add it to our official list we're in. So this is now, it's just been nonstop. Season 1 has been ever since episode 3. It was episode 3, Battle Droid said it. Then we skipped episode 4, episode 5, episode 6, episode 7, and now episode 8. The line is said.
And we're gonna keep counting, folks, because it is such a iconic line within the Star Wars galaxy and universe. It's a part of the whole movie. It's
So many Easter eggs and callbacks. Yep. Keeps on giving.
So that's, I mean, everything I wrote, but obviously we get the at least all the fun stuff I kind of noticed, but we get the kind of turn where with Giant Worm and Jar Jar, they managed to take out the majority of the battle droids and arrest Newt with the help of Far, who seemed like Pat. I don't think at first they almost implied that like he was that it was the whole thing was a trick to get Newt. And at first I was like, wait, was it? But then at the end when he apologized, I was like, oh no, she just realized that he didn't want this.
It was more of like a level saying of a level to ease them, but like, listen, I don't blame you. It's okay. We understand we messed up too, so all's forgiven. And then going back where the droidicas show up, this is where my hot take what if theory comes into a idea. Right, what if Jar Jar never succeeded and it actually led to her execution? Because we know, like, for all of us, we know, well, one, Anakin and Padme are married. We know who Anakin's being groomed for later down the road. Would this have completely backfired on Darth Sidious's overall plan?
I don't know. I mean, I think it would have
things up, definitely.
I think there's no chance at this point that if Padme were to die, that Anakin wouldn't immediately turn to the dark side.
I think it would accelerate the plans because, I mean, obviously, you know, depending upon when that happened, 3PO got the distress signal out, and then it's just going to turn out to a all-out war with the Republic and the Separatists going in on Rhodia, and then again, like more than what Uncle Anna was looking for, and you know, instead of getting the food, now he's getting death and destruction to his planet.
Yeah, it'd be one planet though. Like I don't see.
Yeah,
I think if Padme were to die at this point, I think Anakin would definitely turn to the dark side, but I don't think he would necessarily be, you know, it'd be harder for the senator or for the Emperor to control him.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't think he'd gotten there. Would it be appropriate for Order 66 to be called at that point? Or I feel like it'd be more like Anakin would be more like a fallen Jedi where he just like pieces out, you know, where he kind of like
he just walks away. He steps away.
Go dark. He'd probably slaughter a lot of people on that planet and then just like abandon the order and everything. I don't think he'd be staying with the war. I mean, I guess he could blame Dooku and like go after them, but
it makes you wonder though. But
or yeah, you just
if you brought up some old movies too, I was like, you know, I just love the B-1 battle droids. They're like Roger, 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 Roger. You know what? That when they all kept saying Roger, Roger. I don't know if you ever seen a movie. I don't remember if I'm getting this right. But it had Dan Aykroyd and I believe it was Chevy Chase. It was like Spies Like Us or something like that. Doctor, 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 doctor. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah. There's that, and then I'm trying to think if it was the I don't know, but yeah, they were all saying it was funny. We had like 8 of them, right? Roger, Roger,
Roger, Roger, Roger, Roger, Roger.
The most Roger Rogers. Did anyone else catch that when the clone showed up, they referred to C-3PO as General?
No, I didn't see that.
That was weird. I think it was C3PO at least responded. I mean,
Yeah.
Padme is definitely not a general.
No.
So, and unless they were saying it to Jar Jar because they just thought he was a Jedi also, but I'm pretty sure they said we got your distress call, General. Like,
Yeah.
that's the question is, do they see droids, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't. So is it, or are they implying that Jar Jar sent the distress signal through C3PO? So then,
Yeah, because I mean, you had 3PO on the frequency, and the clone who was answered is like no droids, and
yeah.
and
So I guess maybe he was actually referring to Jar Jar when he said General because he thought that he was a Jedi. So
And the senator addressed him as Jedi too, General Bombad. I
mhm.
believe that was his name.
yeah,
But I guess the moral of this episode really was, even though he may not have been force sensitive, but deep down inside, Jar Jar has the heart of a Jedi.
yeah, and quite the opposite from the popular fan theory of Darth Jar Jar. Jar Jar being a secret Sith Lord. So definitely a
God,
definitely
you
a
really
big
gonna get into
180 with that one.
I really think it's dumb, but I don't know, Mike. I think, and I'm playing devil's advocate here because I don't believe this, but if you think that he's a Sith, this only adds to it. He successfully took out all these like he must be using the Force. He talked to and charmed this beast. Like, it just seems like yeah. And I guess how does this move the Sith's mission forward? Maybe we'll see. I mean, Newt Gunray has been arrested. Maybe there's a reason. We're gonna find out. Probably in the next few episodes. Like how that storyline continues. But I'm just saying, I'm sure there's some people out there that can tell you exactly why this only adds to Jar Jar being a Sith. And that maybe that isn't Anakin's robe at all. Maybe that was Jar Jar's robe the entire time, and he knew it was there. He was the one who pushed the button to open up
Dun
the
dun
door.
dun.
I mean, I don't know. He took out a crab droid. He took out a bunch of other droids.
He has quite an extensive resume so far.
Tried to save Padme. It kind of seemed like that prince saving the princess story, charming a beast and using that to save the day. Yeah, so he's got a lot on his resume, despite being clumsy or I think 3PO called him a misfit at one point. So
Or a Sith.
yeah.
All right. Anything else, fellas?
No, I got nothing at this point.
Take it away, Mike.
Well, that's a wrap. Thank you everyone for joining Three Simple Men making their way through the galaxy. Hit that like, comment, subscribe, and come back next week for some more Star Wars, Clone Wars content. May the Force be with you always.